So at this point, you don't have to take my word for it, because I would like to introduce onto the stage a customer of ours. I'd like to introduce Gary Moravchik, who is the president and CEO of Kerry Color. And Gary, I'd like us to, maybe you can join me and we can have a little bit of a conversation about what Kerry Color are doing with the Kodak FlexL Direct system.
Sure.
Take a seat. So before we begin, maybe you can just tell everybody a little bit about who Kerry Color are and your experience so far with continuous sleeve production.
Kerry Color is a digital and imaging company based in the United States with multiple facilities there, as well as one facility in the UK. We specialize in laser engraved high quality sleeves, as well as dry offset plates and high-end dry offset printing. We supply a wide variety of printers across the country, and we have been involved in direct laser engraving for about 8 or 9 years now.
So Gary, obviously you've been involved with direct engraving for quite some time now, and I talked a lot about some of the drivers for the use of direct engraving. What was it that particularly interested you in the Kodak technology when you were looking around at solutions for enhancing your business?
Well, the Kodak laser diodes is a completely different concept than anything else that's been on the market. The technology that we've been using to date with the CO2 lasers is about close to the max level of productivity. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised with the productivity and the consistency of the Kodak engraver. We're getting imaging speeds in excess of 2 to 3 times of what we've been doing with our CO2 lasers, which is helping us to drive the cost down and getting a better opportunity to supply more sleeves to the market. Cost and turnaround are always an important factor in the printing industry.
So when you talk to your clients about the use of continuous sleeves for production, what are the main barriers to printers using more continuous sleeves? Because when you look at it on the face of it, it would seem that it's the logical thing to do in order to maximize that press uptime.
Well, the things that have been keeping it from taking off in the past have been a few things. Number one has been the cost of the investment for a direct engraver with the slow speeds that have been involved, needing multiple engravers to produce any type of real quantity. Because of that, the per square inch pricing for imaging has been kept quite high. The second thing involved is there have been some issues with the consistency and availability of the raw materials. One of the very unique approaches that Kodak has is actually having a grasp and a control on the raw materials that are going onto the machine. I'm seeing Kodak getting involved with the manufacturers and implementing laser detection devices like that is on the engraver to diagnose low spots in sleeves and imperfections in the sleeves before it even leaves the manufacturing facility. In the past, there have been problems where sleeves have been engraved, they've gotten on press, there have been a low spot, that job has to be pulled off press. Sleeves are not something that you take out of the box and just image another one. They're somewhat of an inventory nightmare. So as the supply chain becomes bigger, we have more availability to get the material quicker, and as the quality control increases, there's less chances of this happening and getting on press and having a disaster. The Kodak device, we do a pre-scan of every sleeve before we start imaging, and that pre-scan will tell us if there are any defects in the material, if there's any low spots, and it will actually kick out the sleeve before we start. This is a very, very important feature. With the large printers that we're dealing with that are wanting to run presses at 2,000 to 3,000 linear feet a minute, these are wide presses, 66-inch wide, 10, 12 color units. They don't want any downtime. And my goal to them is to get to as close to zero downtime as possible. So the features on the Kodak engraver, the speed of the Kodak engraver, the way Kodak is working with the raw materials to get the quality up before it ever gets to the engraver, these are all very key issues of making this a viable product, especially in the United States.
And what has been the reaction of some of the printers that you work with? Because obviously direct engraving, I know you have a lot of experience in direct engraving, and the particular customers that you work with, I'm sure, are familiar with what direct engraving can provide, and you've been able to talk to them about what the Kodak technology can bring. As you talk to your wider client base out there, how are you planning to kind of change the perception of what's achievable with direct engraving?
Well, the quality right now is speaking for itself. As you can see on the printed sheet here, there's a wide variety of different line string rulings going all the way up to 175 line. That sheet was printed at 1,600 linear feet a minute in CMYK, and you can see very nice ink densities. The cost factor has been an issue with a lot of companies wanting to go to continuous sleeves, but not being able to justify the difference between a polymer flat plate cost and the cost of a continuous sleeve, which there's been a considerable difference between the two. Mm-hmm. With the more materials that are being consumed, the cost of the raw materials are starting to come down. With the high speed of the Kodak laser, imaging fees are being able to be reduced drastically. In half in some cases. The fact that a continuous photo or elastomer sleeve is so much more durable, and the longevity of it. Run lengths in the United States tend to be quite long, and we're finding that with the elastomer material we are getting run lengths 2 to 5 times the length of that of photopolymer. So printers that are printing long run lengths, even if the sleeve is a bit more expensive, it's still less expensive in many cases in the long run. We've seen that polymer sleeves that have been implemented because of necessity of continuous patterns. When these sleeves are ordered from a supplier, many times they're ordered in duplicate because they are very susceptible to wearing out, and they're very susceptible to damage. In most cases, we have built a confidence factor with large printers with very quick moving presses that one set of sleeves is all that's needed because of the durability and the run length longevity of it. So when you get the run length longevity and you eliminate making multiple plates or multiple sleeves, you start getting the per pricing down closer to the flat plate scenario. With the continuous sleeves as well, it is possible to grind the material down to lower repeats, basically recycling the sleeve, in which case you just have an imaging fee and not the raw material fee again, and this gets closer and closer to the flat plate argument.
So it sounds to me like we've got multiple components that when you add them together is what's bringing down the total cost of production. It's not just the sleeve price, it's not just the fact that you can maybe make one set of sleeves rather than 2 sets of sleeves. It's the ability to be able to excuse me. It's the ability to be able to keep that press running for longer and faster, maybe than before, that really go together to change the total cost of printing.
Oh, most definitely. And we're getting a higher and higher demand for printers that are wanting to get up to 2,000, 3,000 linear feet.
Right.
That I know of, press manufacturers will not warranty the presses if you run any type of flat plate when you get into a 2,000 linear feet scenario. So that's the reason why they need to go to continuous sleeves. Most press operators would prefer to be running continuous sleeves because they come into registration so quickly.
Right.
In larger web applications like this, the trapping parameters have been somewhat wide, which has limited the quality of smaller graphics. With continuous sleeves, it's like you're back into a narrow web scenario. You have the quality across the entire sleeve. We've also seen major reductions in waste. At this particular printer, we've seen small graphics, very tight fitting, running, let's say, 10 or 12 lanes across the sheet, and 2 to 3 lanes on each side have been scrapped in the past, utilizing only maybe 70% of the raw materials. They went to full continuous sleeves, and because of the tight registration, there's zero waste. And that's a big difference as well. 2,000 linear feet and zero waste versus 30-40% because of the graphics. So.
And yeah, with that kind of data and that kind of experience behind you, printers can really get it, right?
Yeah, yes, they get it.
They start to get it. They start to understand. And I mean, I guess that really brings me on to sort of my next question, because this is more than just about a product. This is about a partnership between Kerry Color and Kodak as we go forward to bring this technology to market. Maybe you can tell me just a little bit about the experience of working with Kodak through this project.
I have nothing but good to say on the experience. The people that I've been dealing with have been very knowledgeable, very customer-oriented. As an alpha test site, we have had calls every Tuesday morning directly with product developers in Israel, and we have given many ideas, and every week we're getting updates on those ideas. They have been very responsive, and it is a very professional organization, and it's nice to see this technology taken into this type of Kodak environment. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, I really thank you for your time. I thank you so much for joining us up on the stage here and sharing some of your experiences with the Kodak FlexL Direct system. And I would encourage that if anybody in the audience would like to come up and talk with Gary afterwards, I'm sure he would be very happy to share his experiences one-on-one as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.